It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the St. Louis Billikens head women's basketball coach, Coach Rebecca Tillett. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you today? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college women's basketball?
Yes, it actually goes all the way back to my playing days at William and Mary. Really enjoyed the experience and thought about it. Years later, I found an old media guide, and in it, it said that one of my career aspirations was to be a college coach. But when I was student teaching in college, I got in front of some second graders, and I was like, this is it. This is my life. This is what I want to do. And I broke into teaching first and then started coaching at the high school level and kept going.
What was your experience like getting to play for William and Mary?
Oh, it was incredible. So I actually walked on, and I tell this story with a lot of, joy around it and just grateful for the experience. So my freshman year, I was too scared to send the email to the head coach. And I'm not shy about telling that story because I think sometimes people need to hear other leaders say, like, take that leap, take that step. So my sophomore year, I was actually an RA to help pay for college. And one of my teammates, Nina, she was on my hall and I was the RA on the hall she lived in. And I said, I thought about trying out for the team last year, but I never sent the email. And she goes, what are you doing? Like, come play pickup with us and see if you're good enough. And it was such a, defining moment in my life. And I think definitely part of my career path was like, yeah, just go try it and see what happens. I went and played pickup, then tried out for the team, stayed on the team for my, sophomore through senior year, was voted a captain my senior year, just incredible experience.
Of course, what was that experience like getting to walk on to the team and then obviously become captain in your senior year?
Yeah, it was a little bit nerve wracking, right? The tryout part, because you're putting yourself out there and you're hoping that one of your dreams can come true. So I still remember I really wanted to buy a William and Mary basketball hat for my dad if I made the team. So I waited and waited, made the team, went and bought the hat like right after I got the call. And then working my way, up to a leadership role on that team. I think as we talk to women that we lead now, right, it's about building those relationships with your teammates, doing what you say you're going to do in a team environment consistently so that your teammates have trust in you that you're going to deliver on what you say you're going to do. So that was a big moment for me too. I remember our head coach coming in the weight room and telling me, you're going to be one of our captains and your teammates think really highly of you. And that was a cool moment.
Of course, what was that experience like getting to represent William and Mary and putting on that uniform?
I think it's just so special to be a part of a group, right? And especially a group that represents something bigger than yourself. So every chance that I had the opportunity to play with my teammates, to practice, I didn't play a lot. And it's one of the reasons that I truly believe and try to create programs that model this is, you know, people will say you need every member of the team. And some people will really believe that with every fiber of their being. And some people will believe what, kind of the world tells us, which is if you produce, then you're, really part of the team. And that's not true. I mean, there's production throughout the entire experience to build your way to a championship. We've had women who didn't play a minute on the court be responsible for things that led to championships. And so I think my experience as a walk-on helped me view the team concept that way.
Of course, coming out of college, what was it like getting started in coaching and first starting off on the high school level?
It's great. I tell this story. I don't know if I've told it publicly, so good question. The first job that I got I was still at William & Mary. I was staying an extra semester to finish my degrees, and I was asked to coach a JV team at Jamestown High School in Williamsburg, Virginia, and assist with the varsity. And I kind of got hired in the bleachers. Like I went to another game, not a basketball game, and met the athletic director who had a long, successful career in Virginia as an athletic director. And then he worked for the HSL. And then the coach, who's now also coaching Division I college basketball. I met them in the bleachers. We had a good conversation. They said, yeah, we'd love for you to be our JV coach. So I do that. Well, the very first game, like I've missed some of tryouts and like they've already started some of the season. So I go to like the first scrimmage and the head coach's name is Jason Asbell. And we get to halftime and I'm new. I barely know anybody. Like I've been around like a day or two and he's like, what are your thoughts, coach? And I'm like on the spot, like, I delivered in the moment. I don't know what I said or if it was any good. And the rest of that year on my clipboard where I was keeping statistics, I would like jot myself a couple notes of like, if I get asked again, like I'm going to be so ready to say something to help our team be successful. So yeah, that was a really neat experience. So I did that for a year. Then I moved up to Northern Virginia and I actually had the incredible pleasure of coaching with my dad. So I was his assistant coach for 2 years and I was the JV head coach for 2 years before I got my first coaching opportunity as a head coach.
Of course, what was that feeling like getting to coach with your dad?
I mean, unbelievable. I've been so fortunate. I got to coach with him. I got to teach with my mom for 5 years, one door next door in an elementary setting. My dad has the high school soccer field named after him. He dedicated his life to teaching and coaching and raising youth where we, grew up. So just getting to be in those moments with him, and I find myself now this far along in my career, I'll say something to our team and then in my head I'll be like, that's my dad. Like I am so lockstep in my beliefs and values of the same types of teachings that he did with his students. I got to do. So it was incredible.
Of course, what was that transition like for you from going from being a high school coach to an assistant college women's basketball coach?
Yeah, that's a unique transition for anybody that goes from being a head coach to being an assistant, because as a head coach, you have ideas about what you need as a head coach and what great assistants do to help the program thrive. And so you want to try to do that right away for whatever head coach you're working with. And I think the real positives are you have insight into what it feels like and maybe some of the extra responsibilities that head coaches have. I think one of the challenges can be, you still have to be your authentic self as a coach. You're not the head coach anymore, but you've got to be authentic and coach the way that you've always coached in order to reach the student athletes.
Of course, what were some of your accomplishments at Indiana, Pennsylvania?
So we came in a year with a coaching change, which I've now been a part of, 3 times in my own career, which it's, how quickly can you build a solid foundation of culture and strong relationships and a competitive environment, which look, that's challenging for anybody to build strong foundations of relationships. They take time and trust is earned, and you tell the person that you're building a relationship more about you and more about your life as you have more time together. Well, in college, in a competitive environment, you're trying to speed the process up and you're trying to win and compete at a high level at the same time. So that's something that, I'm just coming through this first year at St. Louis as well.
Of course, what was that experience like getting to go from a civilian school to a military institution and going coaching at Navy?
Yeah, coaching at Navy, 4 years at Navy, what a gift in my career. First of all, to just meet those types of young men and women that make that choice to both play Division I athletics and compete at a high level and then commit to serving their country after their education. I learned so much there. I mean, for one thing, when you just walk around the campus, like everyone's on a mission, like literally a mission, right? A mission to become a great leader. If you're enrolled at the Naval Academy, whether you're playing sports or not, a mission to elevate an athletic program, a mission to increase their, military experience. So they're prepared when they get their opportunities to lead. They graduate the academy and then are leading other, adults immediately. And so I think just learning how the military teaches a lot of their leadership. There's one story I've shared a couple of times about love. The word love, which is one of our core values, used to be all over the leadership teachings of the military. And then they went through a time period where they took it out, right? Because a lot of people hear the word love and they think it's soft, it's too mushy, right, for leadership. And then they realized that they had to add it back into the manuals because it is a foundation of how you lead people, is if you lead with your heart, if you lead with love. So that's something else that I learned in my time there.
During your time at Navy, what were some of your biggest coaching accomplishments?
I think just we had, two record-breaking seasons there. One was the most wins in program history. I think it was tying that with 25. And then a huge accomplishment, the first postseason victory in program history. We upset George Washington at GW, which is now in our league in the A10. I think more importantly than even just the wins and that was just the relationships that you build with those women. Those women, when they check in with me now, like they're all over the world. They're leading in other countries, they're leading in the US, or they're hopping all around the United States. You got to keep up with where they are. That's just so incredible life experience to get to share with them.
While at Navy, what was it like getting to coach against those teams like Army and Air Force?
Yeah, the rivalries run deep. Goodness, especially Army Navy. I mean, at Navy they have our weights, like on the edge of the weights, it'll say beat Army. So every time you're training, right, you're thinking about that opportunity to compete against Army. And when you go and play at Army, like the poles that hold the building up say beat Navy. I do think if you're ever drawn into one of those rivalries, I don't know if there's many people that switch sides out there. Like I will forever be go Navy, beat Army, even though I don't work there anymore and have no further affiliation with them. I think it just gets ingrained in you during that time. The competition teaches you a lot between those universities because there's mutual respect between all three service academies. And there's also this distinct desire by anyone involved to show who is at the top of the elevation on any given year. So I learned a lot about how do you manage, our players' nerves, their expectations, the pressure, which is very similar to what you have to manage in championship runs. So that's definitely something I learned while I was there too.
Of course, what were some of the things that you took from Navy to then help you to go to Longwood to become their assistant coach?
I think some of it is, the way that those women manage their time is incredible. And so you can hear former Longwood players say, oh, she's going to talk about Navy again. She's going to talk about how those women, because, they could get anything done in an amount of time because they learn that skill. It's one of the great skills that they're taught while they're at the academy. And so I think that's something, was teaching our women how much you can fit into a day and really accomplish if you choose to. I think the other part was just, the coach and the coaches that I worked with at Navy were really, really talented in the area of scouting and preparation for opponents. So I think that was something that we took from that experience and applied right away at Longwood.
Of course, what were some of your biggest accomplishments at Longwood as the assistant coach?
Longwood as the head coach?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So at Longwood, year one was difficult. We only won 3 games, lost 27. That's tough. And I think our whole plan in that year one was, all right, we've got to lay the foundation for what this is going to be like. And, for us to be able to, in 4 years, helped the program elevate to winning a championship in year 4 for the first NCAA tournament appearance in year 4. Each year we just made new milestones and new targets for that team. And to have a really great core group of players that all came there knowing that Longwood was 3-27, right? They committed to come to Longwood when we weren't successful. And their commitment was, we're going to build it. We are going to be the group of women that build this to happen. And to see them do that and accomplish that, it's just incredible.
Of course, as a coach, what was that like getting to rebuild that culture at Longwood?
Culture is such a fluid thing, right? We talk about it so much in sports, business, leadership development. It's ever changing, and it's every person is a part of it. So as a leader, sure, I have the responsibility to set the direction, right? Like set the sails for where it's going to go. I've said to people before, the leader needs to be, the rock, the foundation, and the compass. Like, where are we going to go? Where are we going to take this program? At the same time, I could do all of those things really well. And if a few of our women are not on board with that, are not sailing in the same direction, are not rooted in those values, then it won't work. And so it's the power of teams. It literally, every person forms the culture, shapes the culture. So we talk about nurturing it as a group. Like, we've got to keep pouring into it to make it great.
Of course, how was that transition like from going from being the head coach at Longwood to coming to St. Louis Billikens and becoming their head coach?
Yeah, to be here at St. Louis Billikens, incredible. The transition is like, put your foot on the gas, right? Like, the pace of it is swift. So we won the championship at Longwood, and then right away, you're in interview processes and you get opportunities based on the success of your women and the program. So it's a bit of a whirlwind. And then St. Louis most closely aligned with the career steps that I wanted to take next, and, going to a place that really would pour into women's sports and care deeply about it. And then to have the success that we had this year in the way that we had it, right? The beginning of the season was rocky. We were 6-16. We were so close in so many games and just didn't turn the corner enough for it to show up in the wins column. We could see the growth, though, with our women and with the team. And this group of women, unbelievably positive. So when things got hard, we lose a game, we don't have the best practice. The next day they came in, positive attitude, let's work, let's learn, let's see what we can do next. And we just kept getting better all the way until the championship game. And I think that's really the story of how we were able to do it. And yeah, it's been an unbelievable ride. And the great thing about sports is they come back here in a week and we're going to try to do it again with a new group.
Of course, what was that feeling like the first time you got to step onto that court after being announced as the next head coach?
I actually have a really distinct memory of that. Good question. It was before our staff was hired. Actually, one of our staff members was observing the workout because she was on her interview process. And I just remember kind of taking a deep breath, looking around our beautiful Chaffetz Arena and thinking, I can do this anywhere. I could coach anywhere in the world and be so happy to coach basketball. And then the second thought was how grateful I was to be in this place and this environment of just extreme excellence. I'm drawn to that. We've got multiple championship coaches here. I was just speaking at a golf tournament last week with 3 other championship coaches next to me. And, you're going to elevate if you're surrounded by people who are pursuing excellence at that rate. You're going to feel constantly inspired and challenged to do that too.
Of course, as you said, with multiple coaches with championship background, what has that been like, obviously getting to build that championship culture?
It's fun every time. It is. And it's like, it's like a math problem or a puzzle you need to put together, or something you need to build. And you can go in with these ideas. Like I take a little bit of time every summer to re-inspire, right? Like, what am I going to share with this team this year that I hope will resonate with them? Sometimes I'll have set certain film watching goals for myself of, how can I get better as a coach? And then you dive in, you just dive into the process with the women. And every day you're learning about them, they're learning about you, you're learning about how they work together. And to me, that's the joy in the work and figuring it out with a group.
Of course, what was that first feeling like getting that first win as the head coach for St. Louis?
It was great. Our women played really, really, really well. We scored the ball with ease that game. And we'd had a tough competition before that. So it was kind of like a bounce back, um, you know, opportunity for our team. I think in coaching, you have to remember to enjoy those timeframes because there's always another game to prepare for. There's always another season to prepare for. And one of our core values is joy. And so we're constantly reminding each other, including players reminding me, right? Like, where's your joy today, Tillett? How's your joy? And we chose that core value, which we stole from Steve Kerr and the Warriors, because it is so important. Why did we all get into the game in the first place, right? We were kids and we saw this ball and we saw the hoop and we started playing for those reasons. So it's really important to us to keep that, as our main reason.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you're starting to build?
I can. So our core values are joy, love, toughness, and collective responsibility. And we talk a lot about empowering young women. And we talk about a concept called arete. It's a Greek word. It stands for excellence of any kind or the act of living up to one's full potential. And anyone that's heard me speak to our women, I just really go in on the act, because the act means you have to do it again. Excellence is not something that you reach and it's over. It's something that you're constantly striving and working towards. It's a quest. And I think that's what this program is really trying to do, is to find significant success, the quest for excellence over and over and over again.
Of course, as a head coach, what has that process been like getting to build the coaching staff and the players around you?
I'm actually in building a little bit of the coaching staff again. One of our assistants got her dream head coaching job. And so you are in those processes again. I think it's always about looking for people that share the values that we have, both as a program and our institution and athletic department's values. And then also, what can you bring to elevate our program, right? I always want to keep getting better. I don't want to be the same coach this year that I was last year. I hope I'm a better coach every single year until I retire. My mom, who's a longtime educator, she used to say, I can't retire because I don't know if I've gotten like the perfect year of teaching yet, which is so true. There is no perfect year of teaching or perfect year of leading or perfect year of coaching, but you're always striving for, can I get another great year and use all the things that I've learned? So that's really critical in terms of the staff. And then in terms of the players, we've found that the players that thrive the best in our program are very competitive young women who just really have a toughness about them, and then also are unselfish. They want the team to be successful, and they'll do anything to help the team be successful.
Of course, so far in your coaching career as the head coach, what are some of your biggest coaching accomplishments at St. Louis?
I think the biggest ones are just the ability to lead, right? We had two programs go to the NCAA tournament back to back that had never been before. So when we found out that statistic after we beat UMass in the championship game, I shared it with the team because obviously that success is going to get associated with my name. You can't do that as a leader without the women immersing themselves in the culture and the work. It just doesn't happen. It's only happened one other time with the head coach at Iowa. I mean, that's the only other time that's happened. And the reason is because of those women, right? Those women, when we walked in the door, they said, okay, we're going to just take this big leap and do everything you ask us to do, and we'll see what happens. And what a lesson for all of us in staying positive, keep getting better, and you can still achieve at a really elite level, no matter how you started.
Of course, what has that been like, obviously helping guiding the team to the NCAA tournament?
It's so special. Last year we were at a camp we were holding for youth here at St. Louis. And I asked, a big thing we tell our team is dream your biggest dream, achieve it, and then go dream another big dream. And we were going down the line of all the counselors and staff members for the camp saying, what's your biggest dream? And at that time I said, take as many women as possible to the NCAA tournament, because it's a lifelong memory that they'll have with their teammates of achieving that. Now I got to level up, right? Now I got to go, okay, so how do we make runs in the tournament, right? How do we go deeper in the tournament? Because I think each round it's going to get, just build and stack on those memories and layers for those women.
Of course, as a coach, what has that been like, obviously getting to coach in the postseason and going to the tournament?
Just first of all, especially the past 2 years, some of the strides we've made in equity for women in the NCAA tournament, watching our women get their tournament gifts and have this really first-class experience at the tournament. That's been special to be a part of that time in history for women. I think the other part is just, you grow up watching the tournament. You grow up hoping that you'll be there as a player or as a coach. And so just getting to be a part of those moments for women and watching, we've had 2 years in a row where we've really gotten our teams to play literally their best basketball at the end of the season. So you're just watching them play their best basketball, get really creative on the offensive side and execute game plans at a high level. Goodness, there's not much more fun things to do than that with the team.
Of course, who are some of the teams in your conference that you play each week?
So we have a big conference now in the A10. The ones that were kind of finishing the season, near the top of the conference this year were UMass, Rhode Island, St. Joe's, Richmond, Fordham, Davidson, Dayton. I could probably name them all if I had to, but really great conference, basketball centric. So just really fortunate to be here with great coaches, really good players, and have the opportunity to fly and compete.
Of course, what is that home game atmosphere like when teams like Rhode Island and Fordham comes versus going to Richmond to play?
Yeah, I'm really excited about our environment here at Chaifetz Arena, and especially towards the end of the season, our fans were really getting on board, right? Because we were starting to deliver a little bit and playing better basketball, and we were increasing our fans. And I'm hoping our fans will, make an even bigger commitment next year to supporting these women. So really great game environment, and the fans help us win, right? Like the environment helps us defeat opponents. And then Richmond's fun for me because we're back in Virginia. I've got a lot of friends and family that are able to make it to those games. They also have a really nice arena, and it was a really competitive game. They got us there this year, so we'll have to study hard for next season.
Of course, as a head coach, what are some of your game day routines and rituals like?
Oh, that's a good one. So I watch film all the way up until the game. Like, even if I decide to get, like, sometimes my daughters will curl my hair. If they're curling my hair, I'm still watching film. I always feel like there's just one more thing that I might be able to pick up that could help us in the game. So that's something you'll definitely see me doing. We have our shoot around, right? Our film preparation. Sometimes on the road, I'll sneak a walk in with Coach Ohms on our staff. I should be more consistent with that. So maybe that's a goal for me moving forward.
Of course, as a head coach on game day, what is that like? Obviously, getting to see your daughters see you at the peak of your career.
It's special. They gave me a Mother's Day card this year that, man, they really know how to like tear at the heartstrings. And our oldest daughter, who's on our team, just said that, she couldn't have made a better decision than to follow me to Longwood and follow me to St. Louis and be so close. So that's just really special as a mom. And then our youngest daughter, Maya, is fierce. She's just a fierce force in this world. And I was telling this story yesterday. I'd get home from a game at Longwood late at night, right? I'd leave the stats on the kitchen table. I'd come down in the morning and Maya's getting ready for school. And she'd say something to me like, why didn't Akila get more shots last night? And I'm like, okay, of course, as a head coach, you're hearing it from everywhere, right? You hear it from fans, you hear it from your staff, leadership. And then here I am at the kitchen table for breakfast, and my youngest daughter's going, we gotta talk about this. So no, it's incredible to have my family be so involved in this time in my career and get to really enjoy the coaching experience.
Of course, what has that been like, obviously getting to coach your oldest daughter, like how your father coached you?
It's so special. She's had, like many student athletes, she's had a run in with injuries. And so I think navigating that with her, and we had a redshirt her freshman year due to that. So I think this year, especially, just really hoping for her to have a healthy season and get to enjoy all parts of it. She had a moment in our tournament run in the A10 conference that was really special. You can tell she's been raised by a coach and has just probably seen more games than most people because she got dragged to all of the games I was coaching growing up. And she was leading our scout team, and we said, hey, we need to get the following actions in preparation for our opponent. And she knows that we're trying not to put more miles on our players' legs. We don't want them to have to go really, really hard in this preparation. So she puts an opponent's actions, 3 different plays into one play, like just one set. And I remember looking at one of our assistants being like, can you believe she just did that? And they're like, unbelievable. They always pick her to run the opposing team because they're like, we know she's going to run it just like they run it. So that part's really special for me to see, and points to the earlier point in our conversation. You might not play a lot of minutes on the floor, yet you might be very responsible for us winning a championship.
Of course, what does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes?
I think it's the same as any, healthy, strong relationship. You've got to get to know them. You've got to see if what they're looking for in a college experience is going to match what we're trying so hard to provide for them in a student athlete experience. And then for us, they got to have some toughness. Really, we hope they love the game, because so many players work so hard to earn the scholarship. And then they get to college, and then we ask them to level up their commitment again. And so you're looking for people that are going to be inspired to do that. And I think that's something we look for. And then great learners. We really want to coach people that learn well and learn quickly. And that can look a lot of different ways in terms of how you learn. But we think that we teach the game at a solid level. And so if we can recruit learners, we can continue to be creative in what we do.
Of course, for those prospective student athletes coming to St. Louis Billikens, what does that official visit look like for them?
So the official visit, it starts with, let's make it, I think our responsibility as a staff is to make them get that feeling, right? Like, because they're going to go on multiple visits, and you want them to feel like, this is where I'm going to develop. This is where I'm going to become a stronger woman. This is where I'm going to help a team raise banners, win championships, compete deep in the NCAA tournament. So even from their very first moment in the hotel room, and us knowing the details about them, like what number do they want to wear, what are some of their favorite snacks, just those small touches. And then I love when they're here when we're working out, right? So they can see a workout, or they can see a practice, or they can see game preparation, so that they see at what level we're teaching and what we expect of our women, so they can make that decision for themselves. Is this what I'm looking for? Do I want to go in this highly competitive environment where I'm going to be cared for and loved and pushed to my highest level?
Of course, as the head coach, what is it like getting to see those prospective student athletes as freshmen getting to put on that uniform for the first time?
It's special every time, right? Even just seeing them get their first pair of shoes, right? Or their summer gear. And it's just, they're at a point in their life where they're beginning to see one of their dreams really, really come true. And then to our point as a program, hopefully they're dreaming another big one with us.
Of course, as a head coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen put it on for the first time, but your seniors putting it on for the last time?
The seniors one gets you every time. Because they've just given so much. And I think in this new environment in college athletics, especially with the transfer portal, think about those women that do commit and stay for 4 years and all that they give to a program. So I think that's special whenever we're able to see that all the way through. And then also, maybe it is a transfer that came to your program and they've dedicated, the last part of their career to helping the group achieve big goals. Just thinking about those moments and knowing what their decisions might be next, whether it's to play professionally or it's to go straight into the career force.
What is that like, obviously, as a head coach, getting to see those seniors go on and play professionally into the WNBA?
So I haven't had anyone go to the WNBA yet. I coached against a lot of people that ended up there, but I have had women go professionally in Europe. And it's incredible just to see them go across the water, we say, across the water, get a whole new cultural experience, basketball experience, and really just become young women on their own, managing their finances and their careers. Just love when they check back in and tell us a little bit about their experiences, and we're rooting hard for them while they're there.
Of course, as a head coach, what is it like seeing your players after collegiately get into college coaching like you have?
Oh, I love it. We just had another one do it just about 2 weeks ago. I hope it means that we're doing things the way that they should be done, right? That they get inspired to get in and help other women have really great experiences like they had. And then I'm just big on women pouring into women and women having opportunities, right? There were times in history and still in some workforce spaces now where there are not as many women at the table making leadership decisions. So each time you see another woman take that step and pour back into the next generation, I think that's really special.
Of course, what are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
So future plans are, certainly to keep taking care of women, to keep reconnecting with the alums and getting them back involved in the program, and then continuing to elevate the program, right? Like we did it a little quicker than maybe we anticipated in terms of year one going to the NCAA tournament. And some people say, oh, you set the bar high. Well, that's what we want to do. We want to set the bar really high, and then we want to achieve it, and then we want to set it higher. So this year we'll be looking to, compete to win another championship in the A10 and advance deeper into the NCAA tournament, all while these women are having a great experience, getting an incredible education at St. Louis University, and then going on to achieve more big dreams after college.
Of course, what advice would you give those people that are looking to enter their first year of collegiate women's basketball?
As a player, or as a coach?
Player.
Player. I think, learn and be open to learning the whole time, and be easy on yourself. Give yourself some grace, because you're going from one environment where you were highly successful if you ended up in our environment, and now you're going to an environment with people that are like you, that have competed really, really hard to get to the place where you are. And there's new demands on your time, and you're not going home to dinner every night with your family being prepared, and so you've got a big transition ahead of you. So be open to learning, be excited about it, and then also give yourself some grace on the harder days.
Of course, what advice would you give those collegiate athletes looking to play professionally, whether it's overseas or the WNBA?
I think anybody that wants to play overseas or in the WNBA, you've got to really love your craft. You've really got to devote yourself to getting better and take care of your body at a high level, because anybody that competes in those leagues, your body's going to take another level of pounding and requirements from the game. So you've got to really be good in the nutrition space, take care of your body in sports performance and athletic training. So I think that would be my advice. Keep getting better and then take care of your body.
What advice would you give those players that are looking to go into college coaching after their collegiate career?
Yeah, if you're an NCAA student athlete, the Women's Basketball Coaches Association has a program called So You Want to Be a Coach. And we've actually sent a couple there. The one of ours that just most recently got a Division I assistant coaching position, she went through that program. Actually, during COVID, she was in one of their cohorts. So that's something that I tell all women that I meet that want to coach. And then the other thing is tell as many people as you can that you want to coach, because coaches by nature want to pour into their team, the next group of coaches, all of that. So tell people, and don't be afraid to say, what advice do you have for me? Still, at this stage of my career as a leader, I will ask people for direct feedback. How did I do in that speech? Is there anything that you think I should have done better? Or before I have to go to a speaking engagement, you've seen people speak at this event. What did they do well? What have you seen done well? What should I be thinking about in my preparation? So ask people for that type of help, and don't be shy about it. I actually, when I was a high school coach, reached out to Brenda Fries on the encouragement of one of my assistant coaches. And she let me come up, observe a workout, ask her questions, have one-on-one time with her. And now she's somebody I, still stay connected to as we're both leading our programs at Division I. So don't be afraid to reach out.
Of course, what advice would you give those assistant coaches looking to make that jump to become head coaches?
For assistant coaches looking to make that jump, I think number one, make your program the best it can be. We've got examples on our staff over the past couple of years. When you win a championship, then people are calling about your staff because they want to hire them too. So be really, really effective in the role that you're in, and keep your eyes and ears open to what those next opportunities are, and then aggressively pursue them, right? Sometimes people will think, well, it's just enough if I apply online in the opening. And while we look at all of those candidates, there are candidates that are separating themselves because they are reaching out to me, or they're reaching out to someone that knows me, or they're writing a really good cover letter that catches my attention of, wow, I got to talk to this person. So I think being relentless in the pursuit of the next opportunity while being really, really good in the role that you're in.
Of course, what advice would you give those head coaches looking to build their own program and build their own legacy?
I think some big advice is study. That was the advice my dad gave me when I first got a head coaching job. He's like, if you want to be great at this, you need to study other people who were great at this. And then I think also, find your own leadership style. Be authentic to yourself. I've studied Gino, Pat Summitt, Mike Krzyzewski. I'm not any of those coaches, right? I'm just Rebecca Tillett, trying to be Rebecca Tillett every single day, and learning and getting better every day. So that would be my advice.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the team at?
Thank you so much. So my handle on all social media is at Coach Tillett. And then our women, let me make sure I say it right, because I'm not going to give the wrong one. To follow our team accounts, it'll be St. Louis WBB.
Thank you again, Coach Rebecca Tillett, for your interview, and best luck in your future at St. Louis Billikens.
Thank you so much, Brandon. And I appreciate your coverage, especially of women's sports. We need those stories out there. So thank you.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Rebecca Tillett, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thank you, Brandon.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.